Hi all, I'm Jeanette Keynes from Jewelry Arts Inc. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can melt your scraps down into a fresh ingot for making more sheet. Ta-da! So we're ready. So what we have here is a bunch of delicious 22 karat gold, all clean scrap. Basically, when we're working and we're saving our scrap, it's important to kind of separate it in the sense that perfectly clean scrap where you've only fused, no solder, we can melt and remelt and melt and remelt and use that again and again and again. You know what I'm saying? If it had solder on it, we would kind of keep that separate. But in this case, we have a lovely batch. So, and we've got our charcoal block, which is all bound up. We have the other important thing here is the bowl in the water. Chopstick, low tech but effective, which we're going to use just to like poke things if anything needs to be moved. I've got a nice number 2 tip on here, which is basically just like a big fat tip, because we need to get this totally liquid. Now this metal has already been alloyed, you know, when you first made your metal. So we don't need to get it up to alloying temperature, but we do need to get it hot and liquid into like a nice ball. So in other words, we don't have to keep heating and look for that lighter yellow color. You only do that when you alloy. But we're just gonna get this into a nice jiggly jello-like ball. I'll probably also then grab the end of a charcoal block and like press it flat while it's liquid just a little bit. Actually, I need an unbound one. So pardon me, I'll go grab one. You don't want to stick a binding wire in there. Gold.
So great, right?
And I'm going to melt that and then add the other just because I don't want to, you know what I mean, have a big mess. So you want to use something like this with a flat end with no binding wire.
Okay.
So put that there. And also I just want to have your tweezers here because I may need to operate that.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to spark this up. And you notice one important thing. Whenever I'm going to get metal totally liquid, you always stand up. Sitting down is a recipe for, oh fucking God, I have molten gold in my lap. You know what I mean? It's like, it might happen one time in a million, but when that happens, you don't want to be sitting there. You want to be, because let's say that even though my charcoal block is beautifully bound, that the wire broke and the block cracked and it spilled, it would go right towards you. When you're standing there, if that were to happen, you just kind of, oh, you know what I mean? You move away immediately. If you're sitting, you might not be able to react fast enough.
Right.
So this is like a safety precaution. Whenever we're alloying or remelting or whatever, you're always going to stand up.
Okay.
Okay? Oh, hold on.
Oh, no? No. Whoa. See, this scares me. Okay.
So I'm going to do it as a demo, okay?
Okay.
Because if you're stressed, that's not good.
All right.
Okay? So, yay, delicious big flame. Is that not the most gorgeous thing you ever saw in your whole life?
It's like being in Game of Thrones, but like
way better.
when they're not killing each other.
Yes, exactly. Because we're not going to pour this down your throat.
Oh, that's right.
Right? You remember that?
Right, Targaryen.
Oh, yes. And everyone's like, I want to marry that barbarian now. No, quite all right. Hey, Chris, how you doing? I'm just bending this up a little bit so that. And then I think I'm just going to sprinkle.
It's actually more than I thought it was.
Oh no, when we're done, this is going to be a pretty good chunk of gold.
And is it still a good idea not to stare at it?
When it gets really bright hot, you don't want to stare at it unblinkingly. I usually I watch it, but I kind of look away a little bit.
It's so hard not to look.
It is. But you can also wear those UV goggles, you know what I mean, if you want. Usually what I do is I just don't stare it down too hard, but There's definitely never anything wrong with wearing some safety goggles. And you see why you want to have this here, because sometimes things, wiggle around.
It takes a lot of heat.
Yes, it does. I mean, could anything be more satisfying than that? No. You notice also that I'm not like doing this.
Right.
People tend to do that.
Yes.
All that does is dissipate the heat. It doesn't hurt anything. But the whole goal with stuff like this normally is to get it as hot as possible, as fast as possible. So for the most part, just keep your flame steady. I bet you that's an ounce. That's a pretty good chunk.
Really?
I mean, we'll weigh it afterwards for giggles, just, but it's good.
I'm gonna stop.
Yep. So like I was explaining before, we don't need to get this up to alloying temperature. But what I am going to do is heat it long enough that I feel really pretty confident that it's liquid all the way through. You know what I mean? I just want to make sure I've got one nice solid blob before I squish it. And everybody always asks, what's that stuff on top? It's
Right.
just a little charcoal. And you can, to see if anything is solid in there, you can gently poke it with a stick, which is fun. But don't get carried away. Some people are just like, woo! And that's too much. I can make a plot, yeah? Hold on 1 second, I'll get it for you. So you see how the color's gotten a little lighter, so I think that's pretty, I think I can feel reasonably confident that that's liquid. Okay, I'm gonna let it cool a tiny bit, and I'm gonna press it with my nice little flat end here. And be careful when you press. If you press too hard, when the metal is too hot, it will squirt. You do not want squirting gold. Everyone just subconsciously takes some. I will not squirt it at you, I promise. There we go. Okay. So let it cool for a minute or two. You take it out, let it cool a little bit more. Pickle it, we'll forge it, and then we'll start milling.
So, do I put it in the water or no?
You can, but I like to wait a little bit before I do that.
Okay. It
Okay.
looks very hot.
It does. You want to get a close-up of that?
Yeah, it's still glowing.
Yes, extreme close-up. Beautiful.
So,